I'm interested, how little Siân Monaghan started playing drums, or how your ear got tuned into music, because I believe from what I read that you come from an orchestral percussion and folk family background. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. My dad's a big folkie. So I started learning drums when I was about 9, and he was also in a blues band at the time doing pub gigs and stuff like that. And back in those days, even if you were 9, you were allowed to be in the pub if you were with your mum or your parents. It was fine. You can't do that now. But I literally used to go with my mum to his gigs when I was 9, 10. So he'd start to get me up to play like a 12-bar blues, you can play a shuffle, it's just this, and he'd do all the stops for me and be like, it was quite straightforward drumming, so it was kind of a good place to learn. So yeah, that's literally how I got into it. But then his sort of folk influences, I started playing like mandolin and guitar a little bit as well. And then in school, that was the orchestral route. I ended up doing all the orchestras and the area orchestras, and then the Hampshire County orchestras, and had a lot of fun with doing that.
So from the time that you were at school and playing with your dad's band, did you end up getting in sort of original bands or anything down that part?
I was in a band. I was in a few bands actually, in and out of bands at school with and I was always the only girl, and it was like, but I loved it. Like all the lads were brilliant, really good fun, and we used to just write our little songs. And I think year 7, year 8, I was in a band, and then year 10, I was in a band, and then I was in a band for a bit at college. Actually, my good friend Kayla was the bass player, so I was like female bass and drums. And then I was really lucky to go to, because I was in the college jazz band for a bit as well. And we went to the Montreux Festival, which was kind of like my first sort of, I guess, gig abroad in that way. The orchestra had done like a week sort of going around these amazing sort of church style venues in France and things like that. And they did little trips like that. But this felt a little bit more like sort of proper, if you know what I mean.
I'm aware of some of the Liverpool artists that you've sort of been playing with. I don't quite know the order, so forgive me. But I know that you played with She Drew the Gun. Is that a Liverpool-based band?
Yeah, Louise is based on the Wirral. All through Lipper, they really encourage you to just collaborate and just play with people. Play with as many songwriters, get into the rehearsal rooms together, come up with ideas, just get yourself playing and get yourself out there gigging. So they really encourage you to do that at Lipper. So I spent my 3 years there pretty much being in about 9 bands every term. There's like different stuff going on. So I really worked with loads and loads of different people, which was awesome. And after that I actually came back down to London for a while, because I started working for a band called Fink, just as their drum tech, did their merch, and I just sort of helped out in general, helping out the sound guy, helping out the lighting guy, or whatever. It was quite a small team. So I did that for a bit, and I was actually wasn't really living anywhere, because they were sort of out touring for quite a long time, like on and off. So I didn't move back up to Liverpool until I think it was 2012. And then I sort of started to work with Louisa. I actually met Louisa through being in an all-female Beatles tribute band called the Beatles. And again, timing was really good, because it was just coming up to do you remember they did the 50-year anniversary of the release of Please Please Me?
I do, yeah.
And sort of that year, or those 2 years, there were all these 50-year anniversaries of the Beatles, doing certain things, doing this album, doing this gig. So there was tons of Beatles conventions and, Beatles festivals going on. And we went all over the place. We went to Europe and went to Scandinavia a few times. Amazing. And loads going on in Liverpool. We had a residency at the Cavern, so that was really cool. And Louisa played bass in that band. So, and then she drew the gun, and we sort of started working together on that. When we first started, it was just me and Louisa were doing sort of open mic nights. But I was still working for Fink in sort of, bobbing off with them for a month, doing their merch or doing their drum tech or something like that, and then coming back. And so I was trying to sort of juggle a few different things. And then, I think that's it. Jack joined. So it was 3 of us, and I was doing a sort of stomp box sort of cajon with a kick pedal thing and playing bass, just sort of playing root notes. And Jack was playing guitar, and Louisa was playing rhythm guitar and singing. And it was a really cool little 3-piece, really sort of live lounge. We could literally set up anywhere, and you know, didn't need backline. It was really cool. So we actually ended up supporting Fink for a tour in Europe. And then I think the first album came out and the sound kind of changed to having me on kit. So then Jack moved over to bass, and then Jen came in to play keys. So we turned into a 4-piece. And that was it really started to pick up then, and we had a couple of really good festival seasons. So I was in it for quite a while while I was still based up there. But then when I came down here, it started to get just a bit difficult with they really wanted to push on with the second album, and I think it was a good time to just kind of go, okay, let's chill and see where we're at, because they were sort of going off to write for a while, and I needed to kind of keep working. So
there's always a balance when you're in when you're like someone like yourself or myself that likes to play with different people. You want to give yourself to everybody, but at the same time, I guess we like to keep our options open and like you say, keep busy, you know. And sometimes diaries and artists, it just fits together and everything, nothing kind of clashes, and that's a lovely feeling. But then sometimes that isn't the case, and you've kind of forced to make that kind of decision. But I mean, it sounds like you made the right decision, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I still have played for them since, which has been really cool. So yeah. They're great. They're still mates, and they're a great band to know. And the music Louise is writing is really exciting and really like of now. But I think there was a point where you sort of either get involved in the writing or you don't with a band. And I'm not really like that. I sort of like to turn up and play, and then that's kind of where I stop, sort of thing. And I leave the writing to the people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. I guess for obvious reasons we should talk about when you came over to Natal. Do you remember what year you kind of started playing their drums?
Yes, so I got introduced to Natal through Natalie McCool. Do you know Natalie?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so she was endorsed by Marshall. I think she still is endorsed by Marshall.
Okay.
So that was how that connection came through. George wasn't there yet, I don't think, when I came over, because that would have been 2013, maybe.
Okay.
And that's when I got the orange sparkle.
I can't help but notice that you've got a really nice selection of snare drums.
I've got Natal to thank for that. Actually, George sent me 4 so that's where we're at with the drum room at the moment. Down here is that we're creating sample stuff,
nice.
sample packs.
It's great that you've got them there. All joking aside, for your creative kind of you know what I mean? Like you need sort of options, you know, don't you?
Yeah. And actually, I was doing a session at, do you know Metropolis?
Yeah. What, the studio in Chiswick?
In Chiswick, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a session in there on Wednesday. So one of them had an outing already down there, which was really cool to hear it in a different room and see what it could do. So
you've got a really nice hand-hammered snare.
That's the bronze one. Yeah, that's the one I took.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just got a real thud to it, but it's still, it's not dull sounding, you know. So that's a really cool one. And then next to that, that's from the Orange Sparkle Maple original series.
Yeah.
So that's that one. I already had that one. So George had sent me one of those. Then we've got my favourite, the Mappa Burl Maple.
Okay.
Can you see that? Do you want me to take you over it?
You can do. You do what you want. Yeah. Let's have a closer look.
The Mappa Burl, which is my favourite. Really, really, really punchy. And then this is a walnut one, 13-inch walnut one, and there's also a walnut one on the kit at the moment as well. Yeah, actually, I was really impressed with the walnut stuff. It just, I don't know, I don't think I expected it to be as punchy as it is. And the 13 especially, it sounds like, actually when you really crank it, it sounds like a sort of Questlove
nice
sound. It's really punchy, but it's got a real smack to it, you know.
Yeah, got a really funky hip hop kind of tight thing to it.
Yeah. So so I'm really excited I haven't recorded the 13-inch yet, but I'm excited to do some sort of drum and bassy stuff or some hip hop kind of stuff. Yeah, with that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I noticed there was another thing within your sort of CV of your great career stuff that you worked with a guy called Derek Forbes, and it says from Simple Minds or connected to Simple Minds.
Yeah, Derek was the bassist in Simple Minds. So he's responsible for all of that kind of you know, he plays the bass with loads of effects on it and like it's a guitar. He's a great guitarist as well.
Yeah.
And Yeah, he's got a very interesting style. I think he was with them literally from the beginning right up until, I think he played on, I think he might have played on Don't You Forget About Me, and then that was the last thing he played on pretty much. But their early stuff is really, really interesting. And actually Brian McNeil, who we mentioned, was in that outfit as well. So it was Derek sort of leading it, but you know, an arrangement of session musicians around him. Yeah, it was really, really cool stuff to play. My setup for that was like half electronic and half acoustic. It was really fun.
Okay. Is that something, just as you brought it up, is that, I mean, I think all of us drummers are aware that as much as we love, and we all sort of come from the organic kind of acoustic drum kit stuff, that it's inevitable that we're going to need some understanding, you know, of electronic kits. And like reproducing electronic sounds as part of an acoustic kit, is that something that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I think I really love that actually. I think working with Louisa actually in She Drew the Gun was something that really helped me see how it could be incorporated into an acoustic like setup. Because instead of the first rack tom, I had an SPD instead. Okay. And then it was just kind of kick, snare, floor tom, and like one cymbal and hi-hats. So it was quite an interesting setup. And yeah, we like for the album that came out, we needed a few sort of, just there was some like samples in there with like a clap with a tambourine on it, or like a reverse kind of cymbal that came in, or like, yeah, we started to use stuff like that to kind of pad out the songs a little bit. And it's just really cool how it's still kind of percussion, but you just trigger it, and it's being able to incorporate that maybe into sort of like into it as a pattern, so you don't necessarily hit it every time you would hit the snare, but you would hit it on some of them to emphasize it, that kind of thing. I find it really interesting. I think I like to recreate albums, you know, that have been maybe layered up with percussion, like electronic percussion, or sort of extra layers of percussion, and I try and incorporate it so that I can do a good representation of that song with those things on it. You know, whether that's adding a tambourine or a shaker, or adding an SPDS or something. I think I just really enjoy getting into, okay, how can we do this, you know?
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's kind of is art. It's kind of playing in the sand and trying things, and having the opportunity to try different things. I noticed the name Bass Hunter was connected to you as well, and was that like an electronica thing where you would be doing stuff like that as well?
Yeah, that was a random one actually. So I did like a hotel contract in Dubai for 3 or 4 months. Nice. I was living in Liverpool at the time, but it was just like it came up as like somebody was leaving the contract sort of just towards the end of it, and they just needed someone to kind of finish it. So
when you say contract, do you mean a gig? I mean like
yeah. So it was a hotel band basically. So playing 6 nights a week, and yeah, it was all covers, but it was. I think I needed it at the time because I wasn't doing a particular sort of function band gig or anything like that, but to just go out there and play 3 sets 6 nights a week was something that was really good for me actually. Like stamina and just repertoire and everything. It boosted by playing a lot. So Jonas, who's Bass Hunter, used to come to the gigs. He lives out there, and he knew the guitar player. I think they're maybe not from the same country, but they are sort of both Eastern European guys, so they sort of hit it off and hung out a lot. And yeah, we went round to his flat one day and wrote a song with him, the whole band. So that was really cool. Yeah,
I mean, like you, I love drums, but I love music, and I think it's quite clear that you love music and you love being able to sort of contribute and add your thing to every artist that you work with, and you definitely do that to me, sort of like when I hear what you play, like, so it's really good to celebrate all the good stuff that you've done.
Oh, nice one, Steve. That's really cool to say. Nice one.
But listen, thank you, and look after yourself, and have a really creative kind of sort of like continued year and years ahead. You know, I really can't wait to hear all the stuff that you're going to be putting out.
But thank you to you as well, and to George for setting this up, because I know the two of you.
Big thanks to George. Yeah, big thanks.
George is just George appreciation.
Thanks, George. We love you.